Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Took the day off yesterday. Usually, after any kind of snow event, it takes me about a day to wind down. Plus, I went to the Giant game yesterday, which was my first time ever at an NFL game, and it was really awesome. So, I really enjoyed it. Plus, the fact that I had worked in the morning at Fios One News, and we record the weather for the Giants games, and they air them on the jumbotron. So I actually, at the 2 minute warning of the end of the game, I got to see my weathercast being blasted out to everybody in the stadium on four gigantic monitors. It was really, really cool. That kind of stuff for TV people never gets old. It's always cool to see. All right, let's look weather-wise to see what's going on this morning. We've got this new cold air mass that's moved in, and it really is pretty cold. Temperatures dropped into the upper teens and low 20s this morning. This is the current surface map, and you can see there's some single digits and below zero around Chicago, even some minus 10, minus 11 here. So it's really pretty cold. This is quite a decent shot of cold air. But it's not going to last for too long because a lot of this is going to modify. I'm just kind of moving this back on the across so you guys can see what's going on throughout the rest of the upper Midwest. And you start to see temperatures actually warming up into the middle teens across the plain. So there's warmer air starting to come in on the backside of this. And that's going to begin to change the profile of the atmosphere before too long. Now, I wanted to look at what's going on for the next 2 weeks because the weather pattern, is just, I think it's in a transitional phase for the next couple of weeks. And for winter weather lovers, it doesn't look all that promising. Let me just start off with what's going on now, which I think is pretty obvious. We got this polar flow. You have the Pacific jet here, weather troughs along that. But the polar flow is not overly strong. I mean, it's just strong enough to bring in one last cold air mass. And then it starts to pull out. And what happens over time as we move through this week, the next weather system right here looks fairly weak. And that's what the models are trending toward, that this went from maybe producing some precipitation and possibly even that it could have been frozen precipitation in some places. Now it's showing very little, if anything at all, because it's evolving. And if you look now across Canada as we move, this is down to Thursday, the flow in Canada has turned more westerly. So we've started the process of cutting off the cold air supply to the north. And we go along, and what happens is, as we move through the weekend and into next week on the GFS, and now to a lesser extent, but still the same idea on the other models, we've got this is Christmas Day, and here we have it, a big ridge in the eastern states. Your troughs are in the west, and the cold air has no way to really get down here. So it does manage to get some cold air down into the west, into the particularly the northwest. So we'll move this along. The issue for all of next week is the fact that this ridge in the east kind of parks itself there. And even though it does show a little relaxation here toward the latter part of the week for all of a day or so, it's nothing significant. And then at the end of the period, as we go into the beginning of January, we have a well-established, trough in the western part of the United States, and we've got a ridge pretty much in the east. So there really is no prospect here for any serious wintertime weather over the next couple of weeks. Once this cold air mass that we have now pulls out, it's just not there. And models have been kind of trending in this direction. This is one of the reasons why I don't like making unequivocal statements with regards to the long range, because things do change, and frankly, there are predictions that a lot of people made in November and October with regards to December, and not everything is carried to its natural Armageddon conclusion. I'm not going to criticize anybody specifically, and I don't necessarily criticize people for making predictions based on what they see. It's just that I never really understood the obsession of the long range. I just never have. I don't understand how you can talk about things 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks from now. When you have such a problem dealing with the forecast mechanics of the short range, and stuff does show up that the long range doesn't see. And I'm showing you here, by the way, the temperature anomalies, and you can see what happens toward the end of the period, and actually long before the end of the period. But your below normal temperatures pretty much concentrate themselves in the west, and your above normal temperatures concentrate themselves in the east. So this is basically your troughs and your ridge. Okay, so you have your trough, your mean trough is in the west, and your ridge is in the east in a situation like this. Now, where we go from here is anybody's guess. I, for one, do not like the fact that we are going into this pattern at the end of December and the beginning of January, because the reason why I don't is the fact that it's been my experience, and it doesn't happen every year, but it happens. It has happened in many years that I can remember, and that is that the pattern tends to lock up for a while when we go into late December, early January. And the fact that we're showing this trough in the west, ridge in the east regime is, to me, not a good indicator of the month of January going forward. Now, I want to note that in 2014, the weather was very much a non-event until the second half of the month, and that pattern that developed in the second half of the month was exceptionally cold and snowy right through the end of March. So, just because I just, making the statement, I want you to understand it's not written in stone. It's just been my experience that that's been the case. I don't know if that's going to be the case this time around, but I want to just put that out there because I don't like seeing this, but no matter. Here's what happens this week. Here's that first low that now just kind of moves across the Great Lakes with a little bit of snow, and that's it, and you get a weak cold front to go through. Meanwhile, a pretty decent storm comes into the western states, and you get some snow in Northern California and through Oregon and Idaho with this, and even some heavy snows that are going to go into northwestern California and even into parts of Southern California with all that in the mountains at least. And that spreads into the Rockies. So this is a pretty good little system here that's coming into Colorado and into the Rockies for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. You guys may have there's your white Christmas this year. In the east, it's going to be dry and basically seasonal temperatures. I don't see it being overly cold or overly warm, but that next low is forecast to intensify and go toward the Great Lakes. Now, bear in mind that, we know what the models have done lately with regards to intensifying deep lows. They haven't happened. So, I'm going to be cautious here about this. And then we have another system that comes in to California in the southwest. With that trough in the west, your action is going to be out there. And here in the east, we get a cold front with not much with that, and it turns a little colder behind it, then another little low. You can see it's just kind of for the next 2 weeks. Weak systems moving across, but a lot of action in the west. So you guys are going to do pretty well with this trough in the western states. Let me look at the Canadian Maritimes. I haven't done that for the Canadian Maritime fans in the group here, so let's do that. And let me find the right map, which is Southeast Canada. There we go. And see what you guys are going to be getting out of all of this. So let's roll back. There we go. And, okay, so we've got some rain and snow for Nova Scotia and more snow than rain in Newfoundland. And this is for the end of this week. And then, some scattered snows after that. And then that system in the lakes actually redevelops to some degree east of Nova Scotia, so you get some snows with that. So you guys don't do too badly up there. You have a lot better luck than we do here in the New York, New Jersey area, which is a little bit too far south. So it looks like you got a few snow to rain events that you're going to have up in that way. Nothing exceptionally big, but sort of run-of-the-mill routine stuff for you as you go into your Christmas season. So we'll keep watching things as they move along this week. I don't see any big storms on the horizon. Action's going to be shifting into the west if this trough in the west is the right idea that the models have. And in the meantime, at least from the standpoint of traveling this week or into Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, there should be no weather issues. And it's not going to be into the 70s like we had last year. So have a great day. SS Storm Chasers, meteorologist, joechaffee.com, weatherlongisland.com, and you can subscribe to my app, 99 cents a month. The app is free for forecasts for New York, New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut, Eastern Pennsylvania, and the Hudson Valley. Have a great Monday and a great Christmas week. And also, by the way, also happy Hanukkah. It's Christmas and Hanukkah fall together this year. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas.